I had another terrific migraine because, well, apparently I'm under a tremendous amount of stress, and I got a lot going on, as you very well know. A lot of projects all the time because that's just me. But here recently, like the month of October, has been just debilitating. So after I get off the phone, which moms, I'm like, oh man, I got another migraine. That's bad. So I take migraine medication. And I'm laid up on my couch as Joe Buck and John Smoltz begin talking me through game 1 of the World Series. And, bro, I miss good baseball so much. Like, that was what I learned. It's like, because first I had the migraine medication working, and I took the sleep aid kind, so, like, trying to get knocked out. But at the same time, as this migraine is no longer blinding me, like, literally, and I can kind of hear stuff, Joe Buck is having a good time with John Smoltz. Because, like, last night, Clayton Kershaw passed John Smoltz in all-time postseason strikeouts. And, you know, John Smoltz had 199. But it's also this story about how Clayton Kershaw has been just trash in the World Series. Like, this is his third one in 4 years, and he has been utter garbage. And this is a dude that is one of the greatest pitchers of all time, full stop. Got to see him pitch at Driller Stadium last year in his rehab start, because when else am I going to get to see Clayton Kershaw pitch? And I'm listening to John Smoltz, who is doing his damnness to be Hubie Brown, doing his damnedest to be Doris Burke, doing his damnedest to be Jessica Mendoza. And he is trying like hell to put it down. And I appreciated the effort. Now, is he one of those people? No. But I also grew up watching John Smoltz throw fastballs. And I'm old enough to remember John Smoltz as a starter and not as a closer. And Joe Buck is just probably my favorite play-by-play dude, not named Kevin Harlan, right? Because Kevin Harlan is just all fun all the time. And Joe Buck is all acerbic and sarcasm. Like my favorite call, Baker Mayfield comes in the Jets game to replace Tyrod Taylor. And he says, Baker Mayfield, you know, short, stumpy, lacks for confidence. Like, I'm dying. And he's having that same sort of fun last night in the World Series. Like, John, I got some bad news for you. You're no longer number 2 on that. Like, he's just, John, we got to talk about this because you're getting further and further down this list. And at the same time, Mookie Betts is out here destroying people. Cody Bellinger, whose, like, swing looks like an axe coming underhand, is, for the second time in 2 games, crushing. And this is off a dude named Tyler Glasnow. And Tyler Glasnow is big, long, white, and throws 100 miles an hour. He throws 2 pitches. He throws a 93-mile-an-hour curveball. What? Anyway, these dudes are barreling him up. They are, like, through the second time through the order, they're like, cool, we got him. Like, nobody catches up to 100 miles an hour. Like, you can't see it. I take that back. You can see it if you have 20/20 or 20/15 vision, which means that baseball is already a sport that only so many people can actually play. Because if you can't see, you can't play. So you can be pudgy, you can be overweight, you can not be in shape and still have really fast hands and see the ball spinning. Like Reggie Jackson said, yo, man, I know it's a curveball because I can see the laces spinning. I know it's a slider because I can see the laces spinning. I know it's fastball because I see the laces spinning. And the commentator's like, you can see what? Yeah. And if it's a big circle on that slider, that means I'm going to deposit it into the second row of the stands because that's going to hang. And I'm like, and he said, wait a second. You can see all this? Yeah. If you can't see it, you can't play Major League Baseball. That's just what it is.
I can't relate.
Right? That's every single story. Like Brandon Phillips is like, yeah, I can see everything that's about 93 and below. After 93, you start guessing. And I'm like, Brandon Phillips, you're a major leaguer. You play second base for the Cincinnati Reds. It's like, yeah. So when those dudes start, throwing really hard, I know where it's going to be. I can't see it getting to the bat, but I know where it's going to be. So last night, I'm watching Tyler Glasnow throw absolute smoke. Just hard as hell. And I'm going, ain't no way. And then he, one got away from him, and it went to Justin Turner's face. And Justin Turner had already been hit in the face by Tyler Glasnow. And I'm like, how do you not how do you not want to charge the mound? Because, like he went throwing at him, but it got away. And you throw 101 miles an hour and it gets away. I feel some kind of way about it. And seeing as I got this big piece of wood in my hand, I might want to swing it at you. I don't know what's more egregious. Throwing at somebody's skull or throwing a pass over the middle where your wide receiver is about to get destroyed by that free safety. Like, I don't know which is more egregious. But last night, I got to watch and I got to hear and then watch baseball. And it was good baseball. And it was an all-star crew. And I love that so much. So the question that I have for you is, do you think it's because I miss baseball or because it was the World Series and everybody showed up to work?
I think that this is one of those situations where you are reaching that point that I think a lot of people have reached in this year, and that you saw the thing that made you want things to be okay. It was a culmination of, maybe I'm having a hard time, maybe I got some drugs in my system, maybe I'm watching this game that I used to play as a kid, and you were transported, or like you had a whole body epiphany. So it might be all of the above. You absolutely miss good baseball because you talk about it all the time.
Yeah, I should really talk about baseball in front of people, but I don't want to. Baseball means something to me, so I guess that's why I'm not necessarily talking in front of people about it.
Oh yeah, no, that's the whole doing what you love for money. It will absolutely begin to be a thing that you don't love, unless you're actually a major league catcher.
Yeah.
Past that, talking about it, being around it, having deadlines about it, probably will make sure you won't love it too long. But yeah, no, like, if any, like what you experienced is probably something that you need to chase in some form or fashion, in your regular life, as we continue to experience this year. And self-care, right? That's what that is. You found a bit of self-care. Now, try to make sure that it doesn't happen like at a breakdown point. But that's what I'm saying. You found a little bit of self-care and good baseball.
Yeah, and that's another issue altogether. That could venture off into another tangent. So, like, I didn't get to give you this question ahead of time, but we got to talk about it because it's like breaking news. You saw LSU self-reported NCAA violations?
I actually saw your video about it.
Oh.
I saw the title, so I was like,
okay.
More violations.
Yeah. So, like, question that I have is, who didn't see this coming?
So tell me give me some cliff notes on this, because I don't know all the details.
Okay, so LSU self-reports rules violations, one of which involves a scandal that I knew about, but I don't know if it made national headlines, in that a booster embezzled money from a church in the millions and then paid a recruit, offensive lineman, no doubt, $180,000, to go to LSU. On top of that, we got Odell Beckham ripping out stacks and putting them in the hands of LSU players, for which I'm like, yo, dog. And so he got a 2-year ban from LSU, like he can't go near it for 2 years. And then Ed Orgeron, for good measure, picked up the recruiting violation that we knew he was going to get in January. And by I say we knew he was going to get, I mean it's Ed Orgeron. I don't mean like we can point to one specific instance. And then we have Will Wade. Will Wade is the head basketball coach at LSU. And he came across my desk because, I could give a damn about college basketball for the most part, except when the tournament comes around. But he came across my desk because the feds had put a wiretap on him. I don't care what the feds put a wiretap on you for. If I'm your employer and I find out that the feds got a wiretap on you, you're fired.
You got to go.
They did not fire this man. They didn't fire him. He's still the head basketball coach at LSU. So now we got all of this on top of, Louisiana could give a damn about COVID-19. And Louisiana State is 1-2 to start the season with a loss to a Mississippi State team that might actually be bad and not good. And their one win is against Vanderbilt, which I'm fairly certain the Bixby Spartans and Union, Booker T, probably 2 touchdown favorites against Vanderbilt. Add to that, Vanderbilt can't actually play football. And I'm going to get into Dan Mullen and whatnot here because there's this through line of Urban Meyer that I want to talk about. But, like, the question that I posed in the video was, is all of this stuff worth you winning the 2019 national championship? To which I say, absolutely. Does it hurt right now? It wouldn't hurt me because I'd still have my shiny trophy. How do you feel about LSU picking up these violations for being LSU?
I would say that unless there is some sort of moral turpitude happening that we've seen at other universities that have caught sanctions in the past, that if this is just all financial and just a little bit of, if this is all financial, I'm only going to care in the sense that they got caught.
Mm-hmm.
But letting people just get their money and not depriving anybody else of any money, say like fraudulently, then go ahead, get this however you can. And if you're a university, the having a wiretap worries me because, if I'm an administrator or a board member, I do not want to be anywhere near, a RICO charge.
Right.
I don't want it.
Well, and see, that's what's funny about that is I got to lay this out. It's about the bag man. So I think it's an overzealous federal agent. If I'm looking at this Fed and I'm going, yo, man, you ain't got nothing else to do. Like you got a wiretap Will Wade about some bag man money. Is that what we're doing? So like, but again, to your point and to the point I'm making, it's the feds. As the employer, I don't care. I don't care if they're wiretapping you for, I don't know, watching Care Bears.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is that if you are any sort of official and you know that you don't have any real emails with them, you've never been on a phone call with them, the most that they could ever put you together is saying that you two were at the employee picnic, right? Playing cornhole. I don't know what they do down there. Then you're fine because if you're
damn well what they do down there.
Yeah, so they're passing around Mike the Tiger to pet. Who knows? God. So if that is happening, like if I'm some sort of administrator, I know that I'm not going to, like, you can't throw a university in prison, right? University can't go to jail.
No.
So we got to take a year off of football, basketball, and nobody's going to hand down another SMU violation, right?
Mm.
And you saw what happened to Alabama not too long ago, and look at where they are now.
Mm.
You'll be fine. And as long as they don't take away that 2019 national championship, actually, they can never take it away because we saw with our own eyes.
Right. It's the Reggie Bush conundrum or corollary.
Exactly. That's why I say we could talk about who's the greatest college football team of all time, and everybody throws in that USC squad because we saw it and it happened.
Mm-hmm.
We all got the tape. This wasn't as if it happened in 1945 and all the archival footage just disappeared. This is like the be careful what you do because the internet exists type situation, but it works as a positive if you're LSU. So they got a championship. They might have to face some struggles. They were in a down period anyway.
Yeah, but now they docked 8 scholarships in addition to, like, they self-reported the violations, which is the real distinction between it and almost everybody else. Like SMU got caught, they didn't self-report a damn thing. Like that's another thing. Like if the NCAA finds this out and you didn't say nothing, that's a bigger hill to climb. Now, 8 scholarships, that's also a tremendously big hill to climb because like LSU was knocking on the door, pushing for a number 1 class in 2021, and they had leans, and by leans we mean guys that are likely to pick them before today. The number 1 player in the country, who's also a defensive end, a top 20 player in the country who's also a defensive tackle, and a top 10 player in the country who is an offensive tackle. What if you can't take them? Like, put aside whether or not they still want to go. What if you can't take them because you got docked these 8 scholarships?
Put those walk-ons on a meal plan, I guess.
Man. Yeah. That's what I was thinking about. I'm like, this season is a wash. And I said this season was a wash before it started. You said this season was a wash before it started. And now LSU fans are turtling up, talking about, yo, man, I didn't know he was going to be this bad. But I told you were going to be this bad. I didn't know that you were going to get picked up for these violations. Though, that Odell Beckham Jr. thing, that one's still, like...
Wasn't Odell handing out hundreds at the national championship in the locker room?
No, on the field.
Okay.
In front of cameras. Like, ESPN was in there. ESPN cameraman was in there watching him rip off a grip and slap it into Justin Jefferson's hand. Like, those photos, that tape, that's there. Like, forget a locker room. Like, he was just handing out bounties. And you know what? It was 2 G's he handed out. You can't hold on to your 2 G's until, y'all in a car somewhere. You
can't wait till we go to the spot after this spot?
No, Odell got to be seen on television because that's the whole point. The whole point is for the entire country to see you ripping off these stacks and putting them into these players' hands while they still got pads on.
That's true. I mean, he was J.R. Smith gone though. Anyway, like he was a half second away was taking off his shirt.
I mean,
and also still handing out 2 G's.
Again, J.R. Smith is on the team. In every instance, J.R. Smith is on the team. Odell Beckham Jr. is your dirty uncle. Like, that's who he is now. You are showing up in the middle of somebody else's affair to get them in trouble. And not even like them, because, Justin Jefferson is playing for the Vikings right now. He don't care. Joe Burrow is quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. He don't care. Patrick Queen is playing linebacker for the Ravens. He don't care. No, it is Terrace Marshall who's looking at you like, yo, dog, I got to be here next year. Can you not? Like, it's all of that. It's Jacoby Stevens talking about, dog, I'm not eligible until next year. Can we not? It's Jamar Chase going, nah, I know what it was going to be, so I'm going to just go ahead and opt out. Like, I'm having a good time with this because people are being stupid. Not because, like, to your point, by all means, have a bag man. Don't have a stupid bag man.
Mm-mm.
Like, that's the whole point. Don't have a stupid bag man. Because, like, I like to think that when we get the legal bag man, a.k.a. name, image, and likeness, yo, man. We still gonna have stupid bag men.
Yeah. I would love to see, if anything, now I want to know about this bag man that, caught the attention of this overzealous Fed agent. And the amount of money, you said, what, $180,000 went to an offensive lineman?
Yeah. Vidal Alexander.
That's a lot of money. Did he transfer it through Venmo? Was this a WhatsApp situation? Somebody do it through Apple Wallet?
He wrote a check.
All the stories that I ever have about a bag man is he only shows up in person. Good luck catching him on the phone. Bag man is a very literal term. It's a man with a bag of money. Can't trace a bag of money. But you can definitely chase some bank accounts, credit card transactions, bank transfers. Can't have a bad bag man. Can't have a stupid bag man.
So remember that thing I was telling you about?
You can't say that. You know that you tell me about a lot of things.
Okay, that thing that I'm working on, that's the project that I'm working on that I can't tell the rest of the people about.
Absolutely.
Like if I had elevator music, we would use it right now. Well, that dude just hit me up with the text message to ask me how it's going.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope it's fruitful.
Yeah. So I'm gonna hit him back right now. So the other question that I had put before you that I think is more, I don't know, only fun if you take it in a direction I think you're gonna take it. Who wins the Heisman Trophy right now? Who wins the Heisman Trophy in December?
Oh, right now I'd say it's old boy from Alabama, Mac
Jones.
Jones.
You gonna say
There
10?
we go.
Is that what you gonna say?
I was about to say Mac DeMarco. It's like, no, he's not making bedroom pop. Mac is one of those names that I just have not attached to a football player yet. So I hear the first part, and the second part is music, racing, cars.
So the number of people that have wanted to use Mark Morrison in regard to Mac Brown and Mac Jones is disturbing, because I haven't seen a black person do it. I've only seen white dudes be like out here with Mark Morrison talk about what? Sorry, what? Y'all don't have any other Macs? You know, why aren't you out here with Mac Lamore? Isn't that your dude? Isn't that your one? Come out here with some thrift shop. Why you got to come out here with Mac Morrison or Mark Morrison?
See, I wonder how many people actually know the name Mark Morrison. Like, I would be shocked if you asked, like, you say, okay, only black people brought up Mark Morrison, but how many? Because they got to be somebody that plays an instrument, somebody that's very interested in music history. Because if you ask me who Mark Morrison is, I'm no idea. Broadcaster, writer, no idea. You say, oh, Return of the Mac. Oh, I thought that dude was. I thought that song was about him. I thought that was a self-titled release.
So, Mac Dre got to feel some kind of way.
Rip Mac Dre.
Ooh, okay. All right. Never mind. Mac Dre is Bay Area, like E40 them. Too short.
Oh, I know this. I'm glad that you're giving the people the Viz lesson.
Oh, my bad. So I was going through my head and all the Macs that you could be using.
No, Mac's just one of those names that never comes up. Mac is as it pertains to regular people not doing sports stuff. That's the dude equivalent of Gertrude. You just don't hear it anymore. The only person, even if you bring up sports, like you brought up Mac Brown. Mac Brown's like 105.
So, yeah, I'm gonna tell you about that one later. There's somebody named Mac that you should know about.
First name Mac.
Yes.
Okay.
First name Mac.
Because if you send me a long read about Shelvin Mac.
Nope. That's not it. His first name is Mac.
Or Alvin Mac.
Nope.
Okay.
His first name is Mac. And it's as a matter of fact, Mac Jones. Golly, I can't believe I just put that together. No, I can't believe I just put that together. Yeah. But this is a different Mac Jones. Because, like, there was a Mac Jones back in the day that played baseball, and that's not the one I'm thinking about. Anyway, so you think Mac Jones is going to win it right now, and then Mac Jones is going to win it in 10 years? Or 10 years, in 2 months?
Yeah, that's right. No, he's extended eligibility.
It's Nick Saban.
A very interesting series of medical red shirts and military service. For a very grim future. No, like I say right now, my dude's just putting up a lot of. The Ole Miss game helped him out tremendously, but he's completing 80% of his passes. He's halfway to 3,000. The rating is off the charts. Like we talk about the past few years, we talked about Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts and how they and Tonga Tuivaloa and how they have moved the needle so far into what a good quarterback looks like, or who you would expect to win the
Heisman.
Heisman, right? That you're having a hard time fathoming how anybody could be better than that. Not to say better, as a mechanically, not say better as in passing the eyeball test, but just looking at how the stats line up to be so efficient. And here comes along another dude, Mac Jones, who's doing it at yet another big time, highly competitive university, in a tough conference. This isn't say a singular talent running roughshod over like the American. How we used to see really good quarterbacks do it. It's so I'm still impressed. Like I'm still shocked that we're now on year 5 of incredibly efficient, incredibly productive quarterbacks.
Well, and that like you make a good point about Mac Jones in that he's played a better 7 games than Tua did to start his career, which I didn't think was possible. And then you look at the numbers, and it's ridiculous. And some of this, people want to attribute to defenses are bad, nobody got to practice in the spring, preseason camps were all over the place. I'm like, I don't care. Like, we're playing, Like, Mac Jones could, for real, pass for 4,000 yards in a 10-game season. What? No. That's not what we do. Like, you lucky to get to 4,013. 10? Okay. And then you look at the defense he passed 400 yards on Georgia, which might be the second best defense in college football today. What? Like, no. And then another very interesting note going into the Big Ten this weekend, Lance Lejeune and Talia Tagovailoa, that is Tua's little brother, are in a quarterback battle to start the game in Maryland. They got Northwestern, which is a winnable game for them. Talia Tagovailoa was the dude backing up Mac Jones last year. And when Mac went in and Talia did not, he kind of figured out what it was going to be. To say nothing of Bryce Young coming in behind him, who was the number 1 quarterback to some, number 2 player overall to others. So I'm really interested to see how that goes, because Lance Lejeune was also on QB1 Beyond the Lights with Spencer Rattler. And that 2019 class coming out of New Orleans, like, you would like Lance if you heard Lance talk. Because I hope nothing has changed about Lance. Lance is from the Bayou. And Lance was running around like a dude that did not have any skilled players at all around him. So I can't wait to see what Lance might look like in a Mike Locksley offense. To say nothing, I would really like to see what Talia Tagovailoa looks like as well. So while we're here, let me address the headline. So the headline, because people hate it when I don't address the headline. Shocker there. Ryan Day's Ohio State, Dan Mullen's Florida, and Tom Herman's Texas all have this in common. Ron, do you know what that one thing is in common?
No idea. They all coach football.
All are Urban Meyer assistants. None of them have won a national championship with, as head coaches.
Like I know that winning a national championship is an expectation of a head coach of a old money university, but is that something that who's expecting that out of these coaches?
Me.
Okay.
Like, I look at your talent at either one, at all of these schools, and I say, what's the hold up? Tom Herman, borrowed time. Ryan Day, this is his time. Dan Mullen, it was supposed to be your time, and then the COVID then got it under control. So days after we want to pack the swamp with 90,000 people, he get like 21 kids that test positive. Then he tests positive, and now that number's up to 36. So they can't play again this week, and they're hoping that they can play next week. But I doubt it. The thing about Dan Mullen's Florida, though, is till they lost to A&M, this is the third best team in the country. Even with a loss to A&M, like power ranking wise, it's probably the fifth best team in the country, including that team that you don't want to rank because they ain't played no games.
I ain't played nobody yet.
Hey,
literally.
Look, you right. For the next 3 days, they have not played a soul. And they will have had 40 plus practices. 40 practices before you play anybody. Yo, man, they might score 112 on Nebraska. And you don't have you don't have a eligibility rule this year, so you can play everybody as much as you want to play them. Yo, man, you gonna roll out these 4 and 5-star kids that ain't had a chance to do nothing but get beat up on by upperclassmen, and they gonna put a hurting on Nebraska. It might get bloody. I'm not kidding. Like, Justin Fields might get pulled after the first series. Who the hell knows? Because they still don't know who their backup quarterback is going to be. But Dan Mullen's Florida was good. They just couldn't stop anybody. Now, maybe Ty Grantham would have figured some stuff out. You lose Jonathan Grenard. You lose Zabari Zuniga. You lose C.J. Henderson. You might not be very good defensively. I get it. But damn, you got an 11-point lead in a game where you score 38 and you lose? That's all your defense, dog. Meanwhile, we all know what's going on with Tom Herman, but we also get to add this. Tom Herman said earlier this week, the players have been instructed on what they are supposed to do when the Eyes of Texas are played following the end of this game this weekend. Ron, they're going to try to make these black players stand as they hear, because the band ain't there, the Eyes of Texas played. What is your position on whether or not these kids should have to do this?
First off, what do we mean by forced? Is there some sort of language in the student conduct rule book that says that they must stand?
There was.
Is it there was?
Yeah, and I think it's still there. So going back to this summer, one of the things that the players had protested about and put in their list of demands was, we don't want to be forced to stand for the Eyes of Texas. Jay Hartzell, who is the president at Texas now, was like, we're leaving the fight song in. He did not say anything about whether or not the kids had to stand for it. Okay, so the only dude to stand for it at the end of OU Texas was Sam Ehlinger. That was it. So nothing was said about the white dudes that also did not stand for it, just the black players that didn't stand for it. But, whatever. So Sam Ehlinger stands for it. Sam Ehlinger is getting this folk hero praise, and then, yours truly and others jump in there like, yo, look, this is being talked about in the wrong way. So I got white folks jumping in there talking about, you can't stand for 60 seconds? No, I can't. I can't stand for slavery for 60 seconds. Yeah, I took it there. I can't stand for disenfranchisement for 60 seconds. Yeah, I took it there too. So the University of Texas used to have a rule, and to my knowledge still has a rule, that all of its student athletes stand for the Eyes of Texas at the end of whatever it is their athletic activity is. But that is also in keeping with the University of Texas with its racist origin. Like, did I tell you about the University of Texas and SATs?
No, I don't think you have. You might have skipped over that one.
So University of Texas put in SAT requirements to try to keep black people out of the University of Texas.
I mean, that's no shock.
But they would have
didn't know about it, but that's no shock.
Well, no, and that's kind of the thing, right? All right, let me read this from Earl Campbell by Asher Price. It's called Yards After Contact. Earl Campbell, Yards After Contact. It's really good. So, excuse me. In 1955, university administrators convened for the first time the 4-person Committee on Selective Admissions. The committee members suggested in a report delivered to the university president and marked not for publication, loosening the graduate application process so that the university would be in a position to plead that it is acting in good faith to bring an end to segregation, and it should have some bearing with the courts in any attempt to postpone the admission of Negro students at the undergraduate level. The committee observed that if 2,700 freshmen were admitted, 300 would be black, according to the state population proportions, more than the administrators could stomach. The University of Texas had long admitted non-black students based on how well they did in high school, but the report, laying the groundwork for the standardized testing as a pillar of admissions, showed that UT freshmen had significantly higher aptitude test scores than incoming freshmen at the 3 Texas black colleges. Quote, cutting point of 72 would eliminate about 10% of UT freshmen and about 74% of Negroes, end quote. States one footnote speaking of the standardized test cutoff. Assuming the distributions are representative, this cutting point would tend to result in a maximum of 70 Negroes in a class of 2,700. And so, in 1957, UT became the first public university in the country to require entrance exams.
So, any which way that you can create a sundown situation or a red line situation. I said, yeah, let's do it.
I love that you're reading that book.
Academically.
Yes, at the state's flagship university. At the one university that everybody wants to go to. So, like, reading this book, which basically reads like a Texas history of sorts about Earl Campbell and his place in it, because Earl Campbell got some real OJ to him in there. You come away with a lot of this. Like, this dude said, I thought this was football. This dude getting blocked. And if I see you in the chat, I'm blocking you there too. So, in thinking about the Eyes of Texas, you can't think about the Eyes of Texas being played without thinking about the history of the University of Texas, which was also one of the last schools to see a black letter winner on its football team. Do you know what year that was, Ron? 1970. University of Oklahoma had one in 1956, which is still 2 years after, Brown v. Board of Education, but they had one. And you know what? Prentice could play. And that was the other thing that was really interesting about this time is there's another great book about the history of black college football. I think his name is Michael Henderson. But Thursday Night Lights is what it's called. And it gets at how good the Golden Triangle in particular was at producing players that ended up going to Prairie View, Tennessee State, Grambling, Wiley, the like. And Darrell Royal would not recruit them. But you know who did recruit them? Head coach at Michigan State, who became the first predominantly white school to field a mostly black football team in 63. And you know what they did in 64? They won the damn national championship. So much so that by the 70s, when Darrell Royal starts trying to recruit in the Golden Triangle area, it's like Beaumont, Texas there, he sees the Michigan State coach like, what are you doing in my woods in Texas? And Darrell Royal says, this has really hurt me in recruiting. Not this is the right thing to do. This has really hurt me in recruiting. This is why I smoke University of Texas whenever I can. Because this is your history, and you want to act like it is not. So everything that you do as the University of Texas is going to be scrutinized by anybody that knows from the University of Texas. And it's also because the University of Texas is the most moneyed football program in the country. Like, they and A&M go 1 and 2. Like, they flip-flop every year. Like, a couple years ago, University of Texas Athletic Department brought in $212 million in revenue. University of Oklahoma brings in like 190, right? It's a top 10 school. Ohio State's right in there as well. Like, the more I dig into this stuff, the more who else is reading, I guess is my question. Who else is reading? So from there, Ron, I think I know how you feel about this, but do you see if you're a player why you might not want to stand for the University of Texas fight song?
Well, I would never want. This is that Texas would even uh, have a position that they want to hold like this, and this current social climate that one we want to force you to stand during this song, during this what I'm thinking, as you recite the old words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making it sound real eldritch right now, but uh, and then have this song be something that has a creation during a period of time, like I did do a handful of research on this, so like
Okay.
it was made, yeah, from a student function, as he was creating some content for a minstrel show.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing that, and uh, knowing where we are, and like and how kids want to uh, necessarily, why would you hold on to it? Because fine, everybody has a fight song or school song somewhere that is wildly racist, but why would you want to force kids to stand during it now?
Mm.
Why would you really release that to the press, saying like, yeah, this is what we want, this is our history, and now this is your history, and you just have to do it? Because where's the clout to be gained from having kids do this? This isn't the Pledge of Allegiance. This isn't the Star Spangled Banner. And even in those, I would say, why would you force people to stand for it? Why would you force them to? So no, this is a whole absurd situation for Texas. If I was a kid, I'd say, as soon as the clock hits 00, goodbye, I'm out. And if you want to come talk to me afterwards, what are you going to say to me? It's like, I can't believe that you didn't want to be there for your team. It's like, guess what? I was.
Mm.
Also, you about to harangue me over a song?
A song is
Do
set
it.
to I've
I'll
been
leave.
working
Say
on
I
the
won't.
railroad. I've been working on the railroad. Like, that's the other part. Like, which is, it's a slave song. It's a spiritual, dog. Like, the ironies here are just all over the place. Plus, I'm reading Lawrence Levine's like seminal work on black culture and black folklore, which does a really great job of outlining black history from the age of slavery into the early 20th century. Really good book, and I encourage anybody to read it that wants to learn more about black history.
Yeah, what would you do? Or if you were a player, first, I mean, not even say what would you do. Texas sucks at this, right? This is bad. They're doing a bad thing.
Yeah, and like for Tom Herman in particular, this is a problem because Tom Herman is that dude that gave the quote talking about, yeah, you want to stand with these players until they want to date your daughter. Like, he said that in June, and now all of a sudden he coming out here like, yeah, look, y'all got to stand for this song. All right, man, which is it? You with us, or you with them? And he's trying to make it not an us or them situation. Well, it is, and you're gonna lose the team over this if you haven't lost them already. Right? Because it's not even like if they were winning, you might be able to get away with this. But it's not just that they're not winning, it's that they're not good. And I made this point on Monday, but I'll make it again. There is no reason on earth why Sam Ehlinger should be your best player at the University of Texas. No reason whatsoever. J.K. Dobbins is from Texas. Garrett Wilson is from Texas. I mean, we can keep going here. Baker Mayfield was from Texas. Adrian Peterson was from Texas. Like, the number of dudes that come out of Texas that are better than Sam Ehlinger is myriad. Matter of fact, he wasn't even like I don't think he was a top 150 player. Maybe 150. Because, like, Tylan Wallace was heavily under-recruited, and he ranked just behind Sam Ehlinger in, like, the Texas recruiting class. And I was going, wait a second. Tylan Wallace is a gem. Like, kudos to Casey Dunn, who found him at Dallas Skyline and said, yo, man, I think you could be the best dude ever to play wide receiver here. And he's very close to that. But Tylan Wallace is also a better player than Sam Ehlinger. That should never be the case. A wide receiver at Oklahoma State should never be the best player, be a better player than your quarterback or even your best player at Texas. It just shouldn't happen.
But we say that this is a conversation we've had for 15 years, that Texas owns this real estate in the hearts and minds of everybody as being a top tier university, and they are a top tier university, just not in football. And they may never have been, except for that period between Ricky Williams and Vince Young.
1960 to 1969.
Okay, and the 60s.
Right.
So there you go.
When it was segregated as hell. Like, Texas still gets the distinction of being the last team to win a national championship with an all-white roster in 69. And it got to be so, like, the thing that people said in, like, the early 70s that Darrell Royal was like, yo, Arkansas was all white and they were number 2. Be like, yo, we weren't the only ones doing this. We just were the best at doing it. And that makes it better. And then there's the Eric Dickerson story. You heard that story, right? Of Darrell Royal recruiting Eric Dickerson?
Relay it to me one more time.
So Darrell Royal goes to Eric Dickerson's grandmama house to recruit Eric Dickerson. Eric ain't home. So he sits and talks with grandmama, because that's what you do, right? You recruit the parents as much as you recruit the kid. Eric Dickerson walks through the door, and Darrell Royal, still seated, says to Eric Dickerson, hi, Eric. I'm Darrell K. Royal, head coach at University of Texas. Eric Dickerson said, you're in my seat. And Darrell got up and said, it's yours, son. And he walked the hell up out the door. And that is the thing that apparently broke Darrell Royal. He no longer wanted to coach football after that. Because he's like, look, I don't care if I go on vacation to Greece. I'm thinking about this sophomore that I should probably give a phone call to. And apparently, Eric Dickerson was just not in it for Texas. But Eric Dickerson was also just wild, because that man had the Trans Am brought up to his house, or took the Trans Am from Texas A&M that they gave him and drove it to SMU, where he was going to go play college ball. So Eric Dickerson is already just on one as a child. But I love that story because I think Bob Stoops has had that same epiphany about recruiting. And you can kind of see it in the rankings. You know, like the dudes that like to recruit, Nick Saban liked to be on the phone, Mac Brown liked to be on the phone, Lincoln Riley liked to be on the phone. But I got to believe that after a time, like Urban Meyer used to like to be on the phone. Then he started getting headaches. And I think it's a lot of that has to do with the phone. Like you're on it. You're on it all the time. Talking to all of these kids. Some you win, most of them you lose. So the idea that Tom Herman also sucks at, fielding a football team while also being a king recruiter, I don't know that I would want to coach football after coaching in Texas. Because, like, you made this point about, Texas is never as good as people think that they should be. Charlie Strong was a good coach before he got to Texas, right? So was Tom Herman, we think, yeah?
Yes.
Short of Mac Brown, who showed up to Texas and got better or stayed the same?
No, tell me, Texas is a trap.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Texas, you have enough money, your program becomes a trap. You have enough eyes, program becomes a trap. This is where I don't know. I didn't mean to just absolutely dump on Texas for this entire time.
I did.
But continue. Go ahead. This isn't from me. But just for the past couple of decades, think about all the players that went on to be award winners, NFL players, All-Americans, all-conference players that we hold in very high regard that are from Texas but didn't go to Texas. And they were all the types of dudes that I'd say had no reason to not go to Texas other than the fact that Texas just couldn't get them. And if you are in the amount of, like, those dudes are legion, right? You bring up, like, every time that I see a player that is, oh yeah, they made it to the league. Oh, they're from SMU. I think, like, this isn't football, but I'm like, man, Shake Milton with the SMU. What wasn't Texas doing?
So I got a Shake Milton story. I'm still working at Sooner Scoop at the time, and I'm covering basketball. And Shake Milton is getting ready to commit at Owasso in the Wellness Center. I go up there with Eddie Rado and like one other dude for his announcement, such as it was. And all the folks that are there are OU people. Shake Milton gets up in front of us and says, "I'm committing to SMU." And I had never been so mad before in my life. Because I'm like, yo, man, you could have told us not to. You know what? Never mind. You go ahead. You go play with Larry Brown. Because, like, everybody in that room was under the distinct impression that Shake Milton was going to the University of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
yeah, he was a bad example. I was looking at the. I've been geeking over the SMU jerseys for the past few years.
James Prochet is at Baltimore. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's one. But like that's your point is taken. Like is that's y'all one every year. Like Cortland Sutton at Denver, that's one, right? Like we expected Reggie Robertson, but then he got hurt. Did Shane Buechele get drafted? That's a really interesting question. Like, he's one of the better quarterbacks in college football, but he's also a really good college player, as they say. You know, he's a college player. Doesn't matter that he leaves the University of Texas and gets... How do you leave the University of Texas as starting quarterback? Because you're not good enough, apparently, to beat out Sam Ehlinger. Go to Southern Methodist and then turn Southern Methodist into a ranked program, while the University of Texas is an unranked program.
Is this just the universe writing itself? Like it's a long ride, but is this what is supposed to happen? Is that SMU is supposed to be higher than Texas? Is that actually the natural order of things?
Golly. I mean, I haven't been around for that part of life, though. To be fair, neither one of us have been around for that part of life.
No, I'm just you know what, as we were developing sports fans, there's only a handful of stories that go around. It's, you know, it's the Bulls, Yankees, Lakers, Wayne Gretzky, and at the SMU death penalty. Like that's the story. Like if SMU was never any good, we would never talk about it. I'm just, you know, I'm just talking now.
Well, all right. So to go on your point here, what have we been raised to believe about the Chicago Cubs? They will suck forever because they traded a GOAT or some such nonsense. And then they win a World Series. And we're taught, you know, the Boston Red Sox are also cursed. You know, Buckner and all that. And then they become a juggernaut. You know, like, stuff has been happening. I think, you know, something your mom told me, you just got, you know, you got to get old. That's all. But it's still kind of boggling my mind that SMU is an undefeated ranked power. And the University of Texas is just as bad as they were 10 years ago. Not even 10 years ago. Well, yeah, 10 years ago, 2010. It's like 09 is over and done with. Ron, thank you for on Wednesday.
Hey, you're very welcome anytime. I do want to say this.
Go for it.
For claim national championships, Texas has 4, SMU has 3. That's it. That's for program, for whoever's keeping the scoreboard on how good Texas is supposed to be and how good SMU is supposed to be. It's pretty close.
Now I need SMU to go undefeated, get a New Year's 6th berth, and claim a 4th national championship.
Need it.
Yeah. I guess we're SMU fans now. I guess that's what that is.
What'd it do?
All right. That is going to do it for us. I'll see y'all in like an hour. Deuces.